Hi, it's Lynn Zettler from Core Impact Coaching, and today I want to share with you more information about the Core Values Index assessment. Now, I'm not a big fan of assessments. This is the only assessment I use exclusively, and that's because I've tried all the others. This is the one I found to be most useful for the clients that I work with. So you might be asking yourself, why would you be interested in this? Well, if you are a leader, this is definitely something that can help you with your teams. You might be wondering why some people behave the way they do. You just can't figure it out. Or you might not understand why your communication doesn't seem clear to particular team members. Or perhaps you get these endless questions from some of your team members that you don't understand why they have the need to ask all these questions. These are all things that can easily be answered by the Core Values Index and allow you to understand the people that you have, what kind of things motivate them, what kinds of things are they best at. It's not just about strengths, but it's about being in the right place, in the right role. Are they in the right seat? And the Core Values Index can definitely help you see that. So let's talk about it a little bit more and I'll explain how this works. So the Core Value Index was first developed by a man named Lynn Taylor. And Lynn Taylor worked extensively in turning companies around, companies that were in trouble. And what he found out was that every problem they had was always a people problem. When it came down to it, what the real core issue was a people problem. And so he really looked at all of those engagements. He tried over 200 different assessments. He couldn't find one that would measure that Maslow reference called the inner bent, and that's what he was looking for, is something internally that is driving these people. And so since he couldn't find it, it caused him to create it, to figure out how to measure that inner bent. So we're measuring the innate, unchanging nature of people. This is a icon that shows the score of a particular person. And this is what we're measuring, the 4 core values that we all share. And we'll talk about those in just a minute. But this is really the guts of who you are. That's what's being measured by the Core Value Index. And then in addition, we would add a layer on there of what we are, meaning what education do you have? What experience do you have? What are the things you're bringing to the table beyond your inner workings of who you are, but also what you are? And by combining those two things and knowing that we are on this earth for just an unknown quantity of time, our goal is to make sure that those two things are perfectly aligned with the roles that people play in their work environment. So what team leader wouldn't want that? Make sure you've got the right people and make sure you have the right people in the right seats. The Core Values Index can help you do that. So as you can imagine, each of us has a unique recipe of core values. As you can see from these 3 pictures, for example, you can see where the middle person has a huge merchant value. So the icon is skewed off to that area. And you can see on the right-hand side, the young woman has a very small merchant. So these two people would be very different in how they deal with relationships and how relationships come into play when they're dealing with conflict and when they're looking at accomplishing things. Doesn't mean that she is not good at relationships. It just means that relationships are not the first thing she thinks about when she's tackling an issue. Whereas the man in the center, that's absolutely what he's thinking about. So, as you can imagine, there's over 10 octillion possibilities within this assessment because you can score 36 points in each of the 4 areas, and also there are 4 additional areas that we measure. And it actually has a very high reliability rating, 97.7%. This was done by an outside firm. The Myers-Briggs, for example, as a comparison, what I found was 74% reliability. This has also been validated to the 5th grade level, and I know we're close to over 1 million people now having taken the CVI. So just as a brief overview, these are the 4 core values, and I'm not going to go into a lot of depth because there are other videos you'll be receiving on each one of these, but if you just actually look at what the contributions to the team are, I think that tells you a lot about maybe the mix of people that you have already on your team. A builder is someone who wants to take action and get results. They move very quickly. They make decisions and they'll go do things. They'll make things happen. That's typically how we would describe a builder. A merchant contributes to the team through the relationships that they develop. They're also huge visionaries. What could we do? What are the possibilities? But also, let's make sure that we're keeping everyone on board. Let's make sure that we've communicated to everyone so that we aren't damaging any relationships in the process. And then you have your innovator. Your innovators are those who look at problems, look at every situation, and they do an assessment. They can't stop doing that. They are constantly assessing their environment, their processes, their output, and they come up with solutions after they assess. That's how they learn. So those are your problem solvers, huge innovators. Who doesn't want, each one of these on your team? A builder, a merchant, an innovator, and lastly, a banker. Now, a banker, we don't mean a teller at a bank. That's not what we mean. We mean bankers. The terms were based on early societies. The bankers were the people who banked the coals of the fire at night so that you wouldn't have to start over in the morning. So bankers are your conservators. They have the knowledge, the facts. They conserve information. They know where the information is. They love to read and analyze things. So those are your bankers. We need all of these, and each one of us have all of these in us at different amounts. So these are all very critical to a successful team, but understanding them and understanding each other can be very critical for success of a team. And understanding why a builder who wants to just go off and do what they think needs to be done versus an innovator saying, hold on, let's do a little analysis here before we come up with the right solution. You can see how those two would not necessarily be on the same page right away. This helps your team understand how that communication works. So how will this assessment help your team? You'll gain understanding of why people behave the way they do. You'll achieve the most effective communication so others understand. You'll understand the need for the many questions that come from innovators and bankers, and you'll know how to match the CVI results to the roles that they play. And are they in the right role? You'll also have more effective ways of dealing with conflict, and you'll know better how to hold all of your team members accountable. And the best way to incorporate this in your team is to engage Core Impact Coaching. We provide those CVI assessments to your team. By the way, they're not expensive. They're $50 per person. They're very affordable. We'll also conduct a 2-hour interactive workshop with your team to make sure that they understand and are able to implement some communication strategies and some understandings immediately. And all of your team members will receive their CVI results as well as the team leader. And we'll also offer some follow-up coaching to integrate these new learnings. So just if you have any other questions, go to the website. There's lots more information there. Here's our contact information if you want to make contact with us. There's also a place on the website. If you go under the CVI page, you can take your free CVI and get your results immediately. Also, there's always a link at the bottom of every email that I send. So please look for the free link, take your assessment, and see if you don't agree that it describes you to a T.